Welcome back to the channel, everyone. David Broenshinkel here, and today I'm going to be discussing with you an accessory that you might just want to think about purchasing for your fishing reel. Now, your fishing reel is an investment. It's not a consumable good. You don't just use it for a couple times and then throw it in the garbage can at the end of the season and go to the store, buy a new one. Although I'm sure that's what they all want you to do. It is available from most brands and for most of their models. It doesn't matter if it's a budget Abu Garcia Black Max or if it's enthusiast level Daiwa Steez or Shimano Aldebaran. It applies to most reels. This is an accessory that if you can only afford one reel, or maybe you're somebody that fishes out of the back of somebody's boat a lot, or you're a bank fisherman and you guys are already limited to what you can bring with you. For example, the bank fisherman, he goes to his favorite pond or lake, he's going down the shoreline, and he comes across a situation that his rod and reel is not quite set up for. Or if you're the non-boater, your boater, he or she, tells you, hey, this is what we're doing tomorrow. All you need to do is bring this and this and this, and you're good for the day. You get out there the next day, and mid-morning, your boater, he or she, decides to pull the plug and go do something completely different that you're not ready for. Maybe you were able to work really hard and scrape and saved your money to buy a really expensive, really nice reel, and you can only afford one. This will make it more justifiable for you. Now, before I review to you the accessory that we're talking about, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Even if this video does not help you, I might have something for you in the future. And that is, of course, something as simple as a spare spool. A spare spool, you say? Why didn't I think of that? Because, well, they're pretty darn dirt cheap for the most part, depending on what model of reel you got. I've seen them as cheap as 20 bucks and as expensive as 130, depending on, it all depends on the brand and the model of reel that you're purchasing. So purchasing a spare spool, it kind of makes it seem like now you got two of those reels. So for example, going back to my Shimano Metanium DC that I love so much. I mainly throw my chatterbaits with this reel on 30-pound braid. But now, let's say I come across a situation where the braid is actually a detriment. Say I'm maybe I'm not in grass or heavy cover anymore, and I'm on a lake that's pretty clear. The fish are kind of line shy. I need to get my bait deeper. I can spool up my spare spool with 14 to 18 pound fluorocarbon, and now I don't have to worry about those fish seeing my line. And now I can get my bait deeper because braid will kind of keep it up there if it likes to float. Although I'm pretty convinced that line diameter is a bigger factor in that. Now, traditionally, your spinning reels, when you bought them, they came with a spare spool. I know most manufacturers nowadays have kind of gone away from that because everyone has pretty much gone to braid a leader with their spinning equipment. This doesn't take up nearly as much room as box of fishing line. And let's face it, fishing line's kind of expensive to just rip off and spool up with a different line every time the situation calls for it. If you think about it, a reel spool full of good quality fluorocarbon, you probably got $7 to $15 worth of line on that reel spool, which if you're ripping it off all the time, you need to switch line for the situation, it can get expensive real quick. What I've also found is that a spare spool is pretty handy when you got BFS equipment, like a Shimano Scorpion BFS or the Corrado BFS. You know, now I can have one spool with a light braid, 10-pound braid for when I want to power finesse, I guess you could say. And then I can have another spool with 6 or 8 pound mono to throw those super ultralight small top water baits. And then I have another spool filled with 4-pound fluorocarbon for those, for when I want to crank or need a bottom contact micro bait, you know. Now I don't need to buy 3 BFS reels at $200 or wherever they cost now. I can just purchase a simple $30 to $50 spool, I believe, is what those particular ones cost. And now I got three finesse setups for one reel. I carry my spare spools in just a small 3600 size box. You know, I only got a couple here. I know I got a couple laying somewhere else that gotta make it back in the box. But you know, they don't take up a whole lot of room. I recommend keeping them in the bubble packaging that they come in. That way they're not bouncing around, and you know, when you're hitting rough water and whatnot, you're not going to bend the spool shaft at all. So I recommend highly keeping them in some form of bubble wrap. And then I just usually keep a vial of oil and some reel tools in here. You know, it's a cheap accessory. I highly recommend getting it, especially if you're one of those guys that is on a budget, you're a bank fisherman, or you're a non-boater that already can't carry a whole lot of stuff with you. It's such a small package, it fits in your pocket, or a little small part in one of your tackle boxes. I hope you guys are enjoying the content, and we'll see you out in the water.